My name's Dan Salee. I'm a construction coordinator with Mediacom. I work in the mid-Illinois area. That covers up to Monticello, here in Effingham, goes west to Jacksonville, Springfield. And then this gentleman right here, Craig Thompson, he is the construction coordinator in Southern Illinois. So, just real quick, rundown of Mediacom. Mediacom was founded in 1995 by Rocco Camiso. We're the 5th largest cable television provider in the U.S. and we're the 2nd largest cable company in the state of Illinois. While I was up here, I just want to talk about what you guys did in Mid-Illinois South for 2019. We got our end of year numbers back and you guys did 11.22 miles of new construction. That's residential and commercial. And you guys did 7.76 miles of maintenance for us. So that averaged to about 1.5 miles every month for the year 2019. I didn't have Craig's numbers.
That doesn't include.
So that's just for the north part that you guys do. So I think that's pretty good. And I appreciate all your guys' hard work. Our customers appreciate that. Our customers are your guys' customers. We wouldn't be able to provide them the services without your guys' hard work. So we do appreciate it. Okay, so when Dan called me the other day and asked me to talk, I asked him what he wanted me to talk about, and he said, well, just tell him what you do. So, what does a construction coordinator do? And there are days where it would be shorter to tell you what we don't do. But I got it broke down. I got just 3 points here. So, the main thing we do is we do cost analysis on potential construction projects. So, say I get a work order in my queue and we'll say Jansen Cable is wanting our internet service. So my job is to look at the system maps, see where the building's at, and my job is to go get a cost analysis on the construction and the material, what it would take to get Mediacom service to that location. We also do this on plant improvement projects, amp reductions, force relocates, and maintenances. So we go out and we do everything and we decide that a project is going to get approved and we're going to do it. The next thing we do is we order all the material and the labor for the approved project. So when we order labor, what I mean is we get what's called a purchase order, and that would be for Jansen Cable, and that covers your guys' construction costs to get the service to where we need to get it. I order the material. It shows up to the Charleston warehouse, and then you guys kind of get the material. You have the work order, you're ready to go do the job. And then once the job's done, we do QCs on your guys' completed projects. So that's where this new paperwork comes in. You guys should have all this in your packets. But you have this here, and I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to hit the high points here. So when a project is invoiced back to Mediacom, we have to have a system map or an as-built which shows the work completed. That includes the route work, the depth of the cable, deviations from the planned route. If we have to change route, that's not a big deal. We just need to know about it before you do it. And we can accommodate for that. Placement of duct, that's a big talking point we'll get to. And let's see what else we got here. So if you go down to where it says highlight the work done using the following color code, on the system map that we provide for the projects, we need the work color coded so anybody can look at this map and see what work was done and where, and then that justifies paying you guys for the work that you've done, basically. You can see where it says include photos of all core drills. This is where Kirk was talking. A lot of documentation is going to have to be provided with these projects. Completed QC form indicating the work has been done to Mediacom specs. So when a job's done, usually Kirk will fill out a QC form and he will send it back to me with the as-built, with the invoice for the project. All right, so you should have a copy of this in your packet as well. This is a typical as-built map that Jansen Cable provides to Mediacom on a completed project. If you look at it, you can see that he's got it color coded for no duct along the roads here, and then he's got a different color for the road crossing, which is where the duct is. So that's what Mediacom's looking for on a completed project. You can see these blue numbers here, those are the depths that he's provided, and then the red circles here are the span footage that he's provided. So this as-built right here this is what we want to see on every completed job. Like I said, that way anybody can look at this, they can see what was done, where the work's been done, and then we can justify paying for that completed work. You should have a copy of this as well. This is a copy of the QC form that Kirk had filled out on this particular project. And again, I'm not going to cover the aerials because there's no aerial on this. You guys can read that, but we'll just go over the underground. Most of the projects are underground anyway, so. Bore footage wheeled off and matches the map footage. That goes with trench as well. Composite footage versus non-composite footage. I don't really see that coming into play very often, but duct is placed as charged for. Again, that's a big one. We'll cover that a little more here. Was the fiber depth a minimum 40 inches? Was the coax depth a minimum of 24 inches? We do check that when we do a QC. So, and you'll see how when we do a QC of Kirk's QC, how we package that up and send it to our corporate office.
One thing I do want to add to that though, if for some reason the city or somebody or whomever forces the issue of being shallower than the 24 inches, just notate it on that as-built map and it's fine. That's not an issue, but it has to be notated.
Yep. I think we had a job in Jacksonville recently too, at the bookstore where it was going to have to be real shallow, and that was noted on the as-built. So as long as we have reasoning and we can justify it, everything's good to go. It's just CYA basically. So so we're looking for the PEDs being set straight, bonding completed at the end of lines and the actives. If there's fiber involved, the underground vaults, fiber markers is a big one. I know that's something you can say you'll go back and do, but if you're there, you might as well put them in while you're there. It doesn't take very long. Let's see. Splicing done in according with Mediacom specs. Heat shrink installed, bishop tape on housing to housing fittings. Braden, you're about done on splices, right? So I guess some of this doesn't apply to you guys, but trash and splicing scraps left inside or inside heads and restoration completed. So here's Kirk's QC. As you can see, it should be in there. He's got it all filled out. He's got it signed. It's ready to go. All right. So now we're going to talk about the duct. So I've been asked, I've been out on site, ran into some crews, and we've talked, and I've had people ask me before, what justifies a project needing duct versus not needing duct? So according to Mediacom specs, a commercial project, we have to put duct from start to finish. And that includes the PED going at the building or putting duct for the drop to the building for the installer to go ahead and pull a drop in. So this job here, this was a job that you guys did for us up in Jacksonville. And this right here was the start. You can see the duct clearly in the bottom of the PED, so there's no issues there. And then here at the end, you can see, maybe you can't see it real good, but it is there. There's duct there for that piece of cable, and then the duct for the drop is visible. The main thing is if the duct's there, it needs to be in the bottom of the PED, so all we have to do is open it up and you can see it. Then there's no questions asked about if it's there or not. So again, on a commercial job, we got to have duct all the way through. If it's a residential project, we typically just put duct for the road crossings. And if there's, is it driveways that are?
Driveways don't have.
Driveways, okay, so driveways do not need it, but just the road crossings. So that's why if you see a project, you're putting duct the whole way, that's why. It's for a commercial customer. All right, so This here, this is what we don't want to see. You can't really see it there, so I took a closer picture. The duct's there, but it had to be dug down about 18 inches just to see it. So that's what we don't want to see, because the people who audit us, they're not going to dig these PEDs down. All they're going to do is open up that lid. If it's not there, they're going to say it's not there, and they're going to charge back Jansen Cable for the difference. And if you guys do the work, we want to pay for the work. But we have to be able to see it. So there was, in your packet, there's a third picture. I forgot to include it on here. The reason that one's not a good one, that was a commercial project. So there was duct on the one span coming in, but there was not duct on the span going out. So that's why that one was in there. So after you guys invoice to Mediacom the project and I get your QC and your as-built, I have to go out and do a QC, and I fill out the exact same QC sheet that Kirk fills out, or whoever the supervisor is. And I put my name on it, and 99% of the time they match. There's might be some few discrepancies, but that's what Kirk was talking about, how he'll go back, or he'll have someone go back and correct some stuff. The one thing about our QCs is there's the question about restoration. I always put no, because you guys were just there 2 days ago. There's no way that restoration's done. So I always just note it, restoration not done at time of QC. So when the auditors come by, they're going to read that. If they go look at it, restoration's done, everybody's happy. But if it wasn't done when I go look at it, I just have to note it and we move on. It's not that big of a deal. But so like I said, I fill out the same paperwork, and then when we go out and do a QC, we have to take pictures as well, and we provide those back to corporate. So here is how I turn in a QC on a project. So the main thing they're looking for is they want a picture of every PED, or an example of each type of PED. So I got a regular tap PED, and I've got a line extender PED there. They're wanting to see that the line extender is grounded, which it is. And the main thing is there's the duct right there. You can see it in the picture. And then that crosses over, and you can see the duct right there for that. Anything that needs grounded, we have to take pictures of that. So like I said, you've got that line extender, and then you've got the two in the line taps there, and they're grounded, and everything's good. And then we have to pick a spot where all the depths are. We pick a spot and we do a depth check. So I have to take a picture of that. So it was marked at 3 foot there. I did my depth check, it was 2 foot 11, so 3 foot, everything's good to go. That's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions?
Talk about like the size of PED, like with an EQ at the end of the line. Like they're matching with a small tap PED
Right.
versus a splitter PED.
Right, and that comes into, and I didn't attach it, but we have these scope of work codes that we have to provide now, so we'll attach those to the maps, and then it'll show what all you need. I'm not sure where those PEDs came from. I don't know if that was just excess that Linda had that she pushed out the door, but those PEDs are not the greatest, but yeah, I see what you're saying. But you know, if we need to issue a different PED, let us know. We can get the material issued, and we can get you the PED for it. That's not a problem. So I can't hold you at fault for what our warehouse gave you. So, but we can get you what you need.
You guys have any questions about anything that we're doing for Mediacom? I'm sorry? The aerial, you want to go over
For the QCs?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go over that. I didn't go over that because there wasn't any aerial on this example, but if you look at your Q sheet form, let's see, footage will or matches the map footage, composite footage versus non. Is there even aerial composite? Not at this time. Yeah. So we're looking for the guying being completed with the guy guards, any bonding that would need to be done at the actives and in the lines. Fiber only, bonding complete at first, 10th, and last pole. I haven't ran into that, so. Aerial span clearances, aerial attachments, proper straps. Actually, I'm glad that we talked about that. I did do a QC, what was that, last week? And it was good except for the straps that were put up for the project. They were Frontier straps. Yeah. Which, that's not the end of the world, but we would rather not.
Was it on coax or was it on fiber?
It was on coax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could do with that.
It may work, but Mike and Cole.
Right. It works for us, but our auditors that come through, they will be extremely nitpicky about all this, so.
Right.
And the goal behind, since we're going there, the goal behind us providing our QCs like this is so all they gotta do is look at this and they can see that the work's completed properly and they'll stay away. Or when they come around, they just come look at a couple jobs and move on. So that's what we're trying to avoid with this new process. So going back to the aerial, heat shrink and bishop tape, expansion loops installed per Mediacom specs, fiber enclosures and or slack rehung lashed properly, fiber enclosures hung on correct brackets. Again, I've never really had any issues with any of this. It's all been pretty cut and dry as far as the aerial goes.
I mentioned the spec books. If they were-
Yes. So there is a Mediacom spec book that I emailed to Kirk not too long ago, and it does go over all the specs for aerial for different scenarios. If it's just got a tab or if it's got an active in it, it pretty much covers every possible scenario you could think of. What equipment you need to use, how far the spacing needs to be, and it covers underground as well. So, and Kirk has a copy of that, so.
Right. I know the aerial trucks do have it in there, so if you need a reference, it is in there for the aerial. If there's underground stuff there, we can discuss that. I can get you copies of that as well. Okay. One thing I want to discuss on the placement of duct in these PEDs, when we're pulling, especially when we're pulling the coax through these pedestals, it doesn't bend like copper. Okay, it doesn't work properly when it has a kink in it or a sharp bend where it's rippled. So when the ducts, when they're placed in these pedestals, they need to be coming straight up out of these pedestals and in the center, because that's where these lines go. There's not that much room from the end of the duct to where that cable's being spliced at. So these cables need to be, I know it's a 2-foot minimum, but sometimes we're using 2-inch duct. That bend doesn't play real nice in those PEDs and it doesn't come up straight, so it will have to be dug a little deeper to get that radius and properly so it's up in the middle of that pedestal. It's going to take a lot of tamping. You may leave it there, but after the first rain, if it's not packed and tamped in there tight, that duct, you know, it's got that muscle memory. It's going to straighten out. It's going to bend that pedestal over. So when our QC guy comes back, it may look good now, but by the time, like I said, Mo and Curly, the QC guys come back, they're going to report that, you know, it's not set straight. It's just another trip for us to have to go back and fix it later. Be our fault, be a mower, doesn't really matter. He's going back to QC, it's not up to standards, we're gonna have to go fix it. So everything we can do on the front end to get those up there straight, it's what we need to do. Sometimes, like I said, these end of the lines, putting these, it's great to tape that duct to that ground rod in there to keep it straight, especially when it's on a, you know, sometimes a tight bend, because that 2-inch and 1.5 inch does just not play well. But it does need to come up straight in those PEDs. I want to mention that today.
This one over here, it's pretty much it's straight up right there.
Yes. I mean,
what it should look
we've
like.
had some really good examples, and we've had some spots where, you know, I go back to and the duct is laying flat in the bottom of the pedestal, and, you know, they cut it at an angle so it wouldn't kink that cable as it come up there. That's, if I really went and dug over here, you know, maybe there's a reason that it's just under the bottom of the pedestal, but, you know, like this one here is even coming down over there luckily it cable's on this side, but if they had to splice the cable on this side, you know, they're gonna have to pull this cable all the way around to get up in there. It should be right where it needs to be going to get spliced in there, because like I said, the coax, it doesn't, you can't have any kinks or anything in it to get it spliced. You have to re-pull it in there, and it'll make it easier as we're placing it in there correctly. But so when it comes time to pulling the cable, it's pulling easy and it's right there for Braden to get it spliced, or Dave, who's ever doing the splicing. Okay, any other questions, guys?
It's easier when you're doing those ducts, if you're doing two of them at the same time.
Yes.
Go deeper,
Yes.
dig deeper, and stand them straight up and tape them together.
Right.
And they'll stay in the center.
Right. And I know that I meant to bring pictures of a picture where the guys did a good job of taping them together. And like I said, then they backfilled the hole. The ped looked good and straight. And the cable was coming up straight. But the problem, like I said, the problem is it was a big mud hole when they did it the first time. And after it all settled again, by the time Braden got back to splice it, the pedestal had settled. The ducts were raised real high. We just have to do a better job. When Braden gets there, guys, all the work that's done should be done at the time of the construction. It's not the splicer's job to make sure the ground rods are here and the wire. That should all be there just ready for him to hook up as we're there in construction. He's there to splice it up. Okay? All the risers should be on, ready to go. You don't need a bucket truck to put a riser guard on for the cable. So all that is part of the construction job that should be done at the time we're out there. So when you're looking at all these jobs, it should say on the cover sheet that we provide you what all is required of you. I try to put on everything that you're going to need for the jobs. If you got any questions about reading the maps, where you're going, that's a question for the time to ask your supervisor. Anything else on Mediacom, guys? And again, like I said, when we're doing these jobs out there for Mediacom, USIC does locate the jobs. Mediacom is one of the ones that we respond to in the case of emergencies. So if we ever are working alongside their fiber, we know it's out there. We got the locators to do it. It might save us a call out later if we're working beside them to make sure that USIC got it right. So respect their lines when they're out there. Don't just be digging willy-nilly out there. If we know that it's not located, get it, hook onto it, because they are one of our customers. We want to treat them nice and right. Okay? Anything else, Dan? Craig, got anything else? Okay.